Today is a fun one. I got really curious this one time after seeing a few videos on using firm putty gel to adhere full coverage tips, and I thought, do I have anything in my arsenal of gel nail products that is a little thicker but not quite putty gel to help me adhere full coverage tips? In other words, I wanted to experiment if using a higher viscosity gel does indeed help adhere these types of tips easier. And well, I figured that in order to do that, I would need to have some firm texture gel, of course. And I could use my Japanese soft gel builder, but I actually had this product, Dgel, which has become a little bit popular here on YouTube. And I wanted to give it a try. One of my favorite distributors started carrying it, so I was like, let's try this and see if indeed it helps adhere my full coverage tips easier. And as you may already be aware of, full coverage tips are super flexible plastic tips that can be applied with a soft gel onto the natural nail for an immediate gel nail extension. This is totally just for fun today. I wanted to see how this would wear, and I thought I'd bring you along for the process. First things first, let's go ahead and size the natural nails to the Gelip or the full coverage tip. Now, in order to do so, you have to measure them from sidewall to sidewall. And I mentioned earlier that these are flexible tips. So you'll see me here flexing them a little bit so that they're a little bit more curved and that they fit a little bit more slender on my nail. If I would not do that and I would just press this on with the gel, then I'm just going to make my nail and the entire enhancement relatively flat, which I personally do not prefer. Now that I'm done sizing, when working with this system, you actually don't need a bonder or dehydrator. So all you really need for your prepping agent is 90% alcohol. And I'm just going to grab a lint-free towelette. Now, the pumping gel that I will be using in today's video does not have adhesion component. So I will be using the leaf gel base to adhere my full coverage tips or to lay that pumping gel on top of that base gel. Again, the pumping gel does not have adhesion component. Now that I've got my players on deck, I'm going to go ahead and take this lint-free towelette and spray some alcohol on it and start scrubbing very well the inside of the full coverage tip. Do not touch the inside with your fingertips because you will drop oils, because your fingertips naturally have oils inside there, and this will lead to lifting. So make sure you're using 90% alcohol so that you don't have like a 70% alcohol which has 30% water and will leave moisture on the nail tips. Do that thoroughly, and now it is time to apply our gel base. I do recommend that you have a dedicated brush for your gel base and one dedicated to your pumping gel or your soft builder gel, because remember, soft builder gel does not have adhesion component, so you don't want that product to touch the natural nail. Go ahead and apply this generously, and by generously, I just don't mean like squeaky tight, thin gel nail application. Like, do apply it generously, okay? And of course, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. As you can relate, I'm getting a little too excited. You actually want to cleanse the nail or prep it with your alcohol solution very well. I like to scrub the nail plate, push back the eponychium. This is not the cuticle. It's the cuticle area, but it's called the eponychium. And you also want to scrub underneath the nail plate a tiny bit. Okay, and then you move on to your gel base application. Now, because I'm working generously thin, like my gel's not overflowing, and so I'm not curing in between layers. Like if I was creating a structured gel per nail, then that would have to cure in between. But because I wasn't, I could just apply it on the entire hand and then go ahead and cure, fully cure. All right, time for the fun stuff. It is time to move on to our pumping gel. And the way this mechanism works is you literally just press down on the cap of the bottle here and you pump it. If you want more gel, you just pump some more. So it's a really cool mechanism. I think it works great for more of a solid gel. But yeah, let's go ahead and try it. We're going to go ahead and put this on our full coverage tips. And because it's a little bit more viscous than, say, what we traditionally use to adhere these tips. In this case, the Cocoa's brand uses Mega Stick base. You don't need a lot. Notice it stays in place. I just simply put it where I want it to be, and then I should be able to squeeze this onto the nail. And if I see no bubbles, I'm just going to keep going and pressing these onto my natural nail. And as you can see, the gel in the tip pretty much stayed put. And so I'm just going to gently press it on there and use my flash curing unit to help it adhere. And a flash curing unit is great for just setting the nails. It is not, however, your final cure. You do want to put these nails in a full watt, full power nail lamp and cure them for at least 30 seconds. But I always like to do 60 seconds with the full coverage tips because the light has to penetrate through the plastic, then onto the gel so that it adheres the whole mechanism, right, of the tip and the gel to the natural nail. So definitely never just skimp out and think that you can just do it with a flash curing unit. Perhaps if you want nails for like a day or two, but even then you might leave uncured gel, which can lead to allergies. So full coverage tips need to be adhere in a full power unit.
No, I can't leave that boy alone. Need a taste up in the morning. You got a girl just jonesing. Need a fix from my favorite type of candy store. Got me shaking, going out of control. Let me have a little something.
All right, and so here we are. They are all fully adhere. Now, I was a little bit short on product on some of the tips here on the free edge. And so what I'm going to do actually is take a liner brush, just a firm liner brush, and tuck some product underneath that gap so that you don't have things accumulating there, okay? Like just gunk and food and things that you may be caught up with your nails, right? Maybe you're cooking and things get stuck underneath there. All right, so yes, just take your liner brush, a firm one I recommend for sure, so you can get there underneath and fill in any gaps. But otherwise, these were relatively easy and quick to apply with this more firm texture gel. All right, now we get to tidy these up, and I'm going to go ahead and grab my antimony dust collector. This is by far the best dust collector I've ever tried, and it's just portable, lightweight, and super powerful. What really does it and really just makes it next level is that it doesn't have a cord. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and grab my Sasheen e-file, and I'm going to attach an arbor band or a sanding band to them. Before I go ahead and e-file these, I want to, or just file them if that's what you're going to do. You don't have to use an e-file. I'm going to use alcohol to cleanse the tacky residue off of the nail, okay? And I'm just going to, my goal here is to blend the full coverage tip to the natural nail. My goal here is not to reshape the apex or, balance the application on the surface. Like, that's not it. It's simply to blend the tip onto the natural nail and also remove the shine from the tip so that I may go ahead and overlay it with the next gel. So just be very gentle, and remember, easy does it here. You're not reshaping with this arbor band. In fact, if you wanted to use a diamond bit, that's okay, except that I wouldn't use that diamond bit on the plastic nail because the diamond bit is more crafted towards natural nail. Now, if you weren't using an e-file, you can just use a board file to blend those onto the natural nail. I like a 180. You can go a little higher if you feel comfortable, but you're also going to need the 180 grit file to taper the sides of the full coverage tip just to blend them in a little bit more onto your natural nail. Again, just taper them in because sometimes full coverage tips can end up feeling too wide. But again, my tip for that is to use the where you roll it like in between your fingers before application. Either way, if you didn't have an e-file to do everything that we just did, then you can also use a sponge buffer because the sponge buffer is going to allow you to remove the shine from off of the plastic tip. Okay, so I just want to give you an alternative there before we move on to our next step, which is overlaying the full coverage tip. Now, overlaying the full coverage tip, and I have done videos on this previously. If you do want to check out my playlist on my full coverage extensions or my tips and tricks for those, I'll link that in the description box below. If not, you can just search the archives using the keywords soft gel or full coverage tips. All right, so it just depends on what kind of structure do you want and how far away did you go away from the cuticle area. Maybe you went a little too further away. So maybe you're like 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters away from the cuticle area. And so you may need a little bit more structure if you did that. And I would recommend a soft builder gel. But otherwise, if you're relatively close to the cuticle area and everything is blended super smoothly, right? Like you're so pleased with your work, it's really, really close. Then all you need is a soft builder gel to overlay this gel extension because your adhesion doesn't come from you overlaying this massively. It comes from the way you adhere the nails. Okay, so if you prep your tips, if you fully cured in a full power unit, then all you need is to just lightly, like with this product that I'm using here, this is Cocoa Mega Stick Base. You could have even used the Extreme Clear base show that we started off with to just overlay these nails because you're just doing a little bit of self-leveling. You're hardly even structuring. The nail is already structured by the full coverage tip. All right, so the nails have been fully cured, full power units, 60 minutes. Again, because we're working with this plastic underneath the nails, you want that full cure. Now it's time to really dive into the more fun things, right? Like the nail art and getting close to the finish line. I know you can relate if you're doing your own nails. It's been probably a couple hours now, right? So I'm going to be using this beautiful color by Leaf Gel. I gotta give you the number. I'll put it in the description box below, but it's just super neutral, super subtle, and it's got like the cutest, finest glitter in there, which allows me to do a super easy gradation. Oh, there we go. 485 is the number. And a super easy gradation on this tip. So like, I don't have to get my sponge or try to tap my way into a gradient here. The first nail I'm going to do solid. I mean, it's super beautiful. Again, 485 with a little bit of sprinkled glitter in there, super subtle. And because it's a sheer color, you can do a gradation effect, or what we called, what is this, like a gradient ombre kind of look. But again, the first one I'm going to do solid, and then I'm going to move into my gradient. All right, now we're gonna get a little crazy, and by that I mean that we're gonna bejewel these things. So I've got out my Swarovskis, and I've got this Affix gel by Cocoa. The dark purple ribbon means that it's a more solid gel, and the lilac or the lighter purple, that means it's still the Affix gel, so for your little stones and charms and things and embellishments, but it's a a little lower viscosity. All right, and I'm gonna create a 3D piece on my accent finger. I always like 3D pieces. Not only are they super kawaii, super popular in Japan, but they really make, I just feel like your hand look elegant, almost as if you were wearing a ring on your finger. Okay, so we're gonna move on to that and we'll see what I come up with. Before I show you the final look, which you've already peeked, here's a fun piece of news. Since the recording of this video, Coco has released Gelip Bond. This is an adhesion gel specifically designed for adhering full coverage tips, and of course Gelip, and that's Coco's line of full coverage tips. P.S. Before creating this gel, you would attach the full coverage tips with Coco's Mega Stick base. So the biggest upgrade is that this gel has a thicker viscosity, making it very similar to the higher viscosity gel we use today. Can we say mind readers? All right, I'll drop links to both distributors down in the description box below. And if you saw me use anything today here, most likely you can get it from one of my distributors in the description box below that I've linked. And there is a promo code currently for you to use and save 10%. Thank you for watching. If you loved today's video, can you do me a favor and give it a thumbs up to boost it up in the algorithm so that I may help more people? And if you need a little more direction in your nail career, I want to encourage you to join my free masterclass using the link in the description box below. It is available for you to watch immediately for free right now after signing up. I'll see you next week and bye for now.